Hey, I feel like trying to, are any of these filters any good? I was like, kind of feel like putting a filter on. These are kind of lame. Actually, this one's kind of nice. All right, I'll use that one. Hello. I have been doing a lot of focusing. Now I don't even know how to get rid of this screen. How do I go back? This maybe? No? Hold on. Okay, there, got it. uh, I've been spending a lot of time getting ready for 2018, and I'm curious if you guys are doing that as well. I feel a little overwhelmed, honestly, because I'm not entirely clear on why I'm overwhelmed. I think maybe all of the processing I've been doing of 2017 and all the planning for 2018 has just maybe brought up a lot of emotions. I go through these waves of highs and lows in a very short amount of time, uh, just kind of processing everything because I think it's still, I'm still learning to let go of limiting beliefs. That's a huge thing. And let go of old emotions that have held me back. And really just get into the mode where I know that like my true self is, if that makes sense. I talk a lot about in these videos shedding layers and just understanding myself more and more. And I think it's just like anything else. When you're going through a detox, it doesn't always feel great, even though you're on the path for really great things. When you're going in the right direction, the process isn't always smooth and like a good feeling. So I've just, it's hard not to overanalyze, I suppose. And get frustrated. I've been frustrated with myself. I think I mentioned in another video how I have created this whole schedule for myself for 2018. It's a little crazy in a humorous way because I'm almost literally planning out every day of 2018. And meaning I'm setting up the structures for each of my days to make sure that I accomplish everything that I want to accomplish, that I stick to the habits, that I'm going towards the goals, that I'm focused, that I'm setting myself up for personal fulfillment, for best health. Like there's just so many things. For me, I think I mentioned this in a video. I know I said this out loud, but I don't remember if it was in a video or in a conversation. But I have recognized that, yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I did say it in a video, but I feel like I haven't made a video for you guys in a while. Anyways, I've talked about how time kind of feels fuzzy. That's a great example of I've been struggling to keep track of when things have happened, if that makes sense. Anyway, so uh, I was saying how I tend to be a little rebellious against systems, but on like some weird contradictory level, I also thrive off of certain types of structure. And so, for me, the big thing that I've been doing in this past week is really figuring out how I can optimize my life to feel my best and to really feel accomplished. And one thing I'm experimenting with in the month of January, which is a little nerve wracking but also simultaneously exciting, is just really sticking to a strict schedule. And I've been trying to, it's turning midnight in Los Angeles in 26 hours from the time that I'm recording this, which is really crazy now that I've said that out loud. And for you guys, if you're on different time zones, it'll be less time for you, right? Uh, and as I've said in other videos, I don't fully believe that like everything has to be perfect for January 1st, and the new, you really can start things whenever you want to, I still feel like I'm looking at it as kind of like a deadline. And having dates really, really helps me out a lot. And so for me, I'm determined that for starting January 1st, that I'm going to turn over this new leaf and wake up at 8:30 a.m. every morning. This past week, I think I've only accomplished that twice. I've had, I think, 2 days where I got really off track and slept super late and was really frustrated with myself about that. And then a couple days where I woke up a little bit later and I've been easing my way back into going to yoga frequently, and that's been on some days it feels really easy, and some days it feels really challenging. Like today, I woke up later than I wanted to and was going to go to a later yoga class, but I didn't plan my schedule very well and I missed the class by like 5 minutes or something like that. And it was the last class of the day. And so I just kind of had to forgive myself and move on from that and know that it'll be different for me hopefully in January. And I think like to me that's where the structure comes into place and deadlines and all of that is if I tell myself that every day in January I'm going to get up at 8:30 no matter how I feel, I think I hope that it will be different than it has been this past week where I didn't really feel like there was a purpose for me waking up at 8:30. I would like this morning, for example, my alarm went off at 8:30, and I sat there and thought, "Do I have to get up at that time?" And I decided, no. I just wanted to get up at that time, so I kept sleeping, right? Because it didn't feel like I have to. Whereas I feel like, for me at least, if I tell myself that I'm going to stick to something, I feel very committed to doing it when there's a big reason behind it, when there's a strong why. That's the other thing that I've been reflecting a ton, is really getting to the core of why I do things. I'm reading a great book right now about all of these different elements and just thinking a lot about what motivates me, what drives me to do things. And I am not entirely clear on all of them. There's a lot of things about my behavior that are unknowns for me. For instance, a big pain point and a huge mystery to me is why I struggle so much with communication in the form of writing. There, for some reason, writing emails, responding to text messages are really, really tough for me. Like, I will drag my feet for so long so that I don't have, like, I'll push it for as long as possible. And right now I'm in this crazy stage where I feel ultra stubborn about that. And there are some emails in my inbox that I really need to respond to. And it's like I've got this weird stuck stubbornness right now where I like will not respond to them. And I don't know why that's happening yet. So I realized today that I need to figure out why I'm so weird about communication. I don't respond to YouTube comments. It's very rare for me to. It's hard for me to respond to messages on Facebook and Instagram, although sometimes that feels a little easier for some reason. But it's weird. It's gotten worse and worse. Like I knew it was a problem for the past few years, but I feel like for this year it's been pretty bad. And I haven't figured out why that is yet. There are just some things about myself that I just don't understand. And I've been seeking out the answers and I have not yet found them. I guess like I think the next two things that I'm going to use to try to find the answers are one, meditating every day. So that's another part of my schedule for 2018, starting in January. I've talked about it before how I really want to meditate every day, but I struggle with that for some reason. But I'm determined to switch that around starting January 1st. So meditation, I feel like, is a great way to find answers about ourselves. But the other thing is, I think that I'm finally ready to hire a personal coach, like a one-on-one coach. I've had kind of coaching and mentorships in a few different forms, but I recognize that like I really need some personalized advice from people, and I need to find like a really, really great coach. Like going to events only helps me so much, like conferences and personal development or business events. Like I love those, but without the personalization factor, I'm not growing and I'm not getting to the root of things. I've done therapy, and therapy I've found helpful off and on throughout my life, but uh, I don't know, maybe I just haven't found the right type of therapy yet. But what I really, really want right now is someone, especially in the business side, like I could always use the personal side of my life, but someone in the business side who's really going to help me figure out what my blocks are, because uh, I recognize the value of coaching so much. As you guys probably know, I do coaching. It's a big part of my business, and I love that. I love helping people so much. But, coaches need coaches themselves, and mentors need mentors themselves. Like, I need to take my own advice. And I'm surrounded by a lot of really amazing people. I have an incredible network of people, but I feel like a lot of us are around the same level, and I want somebody who's like much, much higher. Speaking of which, I have a huge, huge goal for 2018 financially, and it is such an interesting experience. It kind of gives me chills talking about it here because I feel like this serves as a little like documentation. Um, I am not ready to say what that number is publicly. I've been talking about it a lot with my friends and just starting to make it real, but it's still a little too scary to share because it's such a huge number, and I just want to keep it as clear and positive and like special right now. But it is such a huge number, and I told somebody about it today that I know has limiting beliefs around money. And I remember as I was communicating this via text, and the person asked, what is the number? And I said, I paused and I was like, oh, if I'm gonna write this number, which feels so big to me right now, and this person is probably going to laugh it off. They're probably going to go like, yeah, right, or something like that. And I knew that if that person reacted that way, that would only be their limiting belief talking, right? Luckily, I have raised a lot of awareness, but again, I still have more awareness to grow. But one big thing that I'm proud of is having the awareness about how other people react, and knowing that that's their reactions are usually not personal, right? So if somebody says, "Oh, you can't do that," that generally means that they don't believe in themselves that they could do it, and they're just projecting that onto you, right? So I paused before answering the question, and then I said, "You know what? I'm going to use this as an exercise to be very confident in this, to show how much I believe in my ability to reach this, right?" And like I get chills. I get like not scared, but I'm just like, it's like I'm looking up at a mountain knowing that I'm about to climb it. And I know I can climb it. I know I can get to the top, but it just looks so high, right? So that's how this financial number feels for me. But like, let me tell you guys that I feel so clear on this number. I've never gone for such a big number, and it is such a huge like gap between where I am now and where I want to be, that it's like it's kind of hard to even express through words, right? But here's the thing is that I know deep down that I can get there. And having that huge, huge goal is very motivating. I still have some resistance to taking the actions necessary to get there. And that's why I feel like structure is so important. Because right now, I know I'm capable of getting there, but I also don't know how to get through the resistance I'm experiencing. And so my current solution is to set up the structure that I've been talking about and just through repetition know that I'm going to get better and better at things. And even saying that out loud like makes me a little bit emotional because it really is such a journey. And it's been like a journey just in this past week or so, whenever I decided I was going to get up at 8:30. Like I know that might sound silly to some of you guys, but for me, 8:30 a.m. is like very early. And I have friends that laugh about that all the time, but it's early for me because I've been in this habit of sleeping late almost every day for years. The only times I get up early is when I have like a big reason to and I have to, and that's only like a handful of times every year, right? So getting up at 8:30, the reason for being is because I planned out all the things I want to accomplish and started to work backwards and figure out like what that was going to be. And I felt like it was also a reasonable thing for me, and I what didn't feel completely necessary for me to wake up earlier, right? So creating this structure of what time I'm going to wake up, what I'm going to do immediately when I wake up, how I'm going to fit in the exercise, what projects I'm going to work on, how much time I'm spending on there, when do I have my personal time, when am I eating my meals, when am I shopping for things. I mean, like, I've literally listed out at least 10 things that I want to structure in my every single day. And then I created a kind of a spreadsheet of all the things that I wanted to accomplish for this year and what days of the week they would happen or what times a month they would happen and how frequently they would happen, how much time it would take for each of them to happen. And then it was very cool doing that exercise because then I created a secondary spreadsheet and I wrote out, I kind of created like a little schedule in there of when I would do each of the different tasks right throughout the week. And I realized there's a lot of gaps in time. This is also nuts, you guys. Like I have estimated that in order for me to get at least close to this big goal that I have, it's only going to take me about 3 hours a day to get there. Now, I could certainly invest more time in, and I probably will. Generally, I tend to underestimate how long things are going to take. So let's just say it's 6 hours a day, right? That's really not that much time. If I was just working for 6 hours a day, I could do huge things because the 3 hours a day that I've calculated are big, big things because it's about consistency. It's about maximizing time. It's about structuring things and putting constraints on your time in order to accomplish things versus sometimes when we have too much time we delay something or we stretch it out longer than it really needs to be, right? So it's really just been a neat exercise of examining how I want this year to look, what goals do I have, how am I going to make it, and how can I work through my own resistances to get there. And I just feel so motivated and sure of myself, even though today I failed to get up at the time I wanted to. I am committed that tomorrow I will do it. And I know without a doubt I will be doing that in January 1st. Actually, here's a great thing that, again, for those of you who don't struggle to wake up early, this may not seem like that big of a deal to you. But for me, this was huge. I don't think I've mentioned this before in a video, but there's this one really great motivational guy that I read his articles online. And I remember one of the most, if not the most helpful things I've ever read of his was that getting up early in order to accomplish your goals for that day is only hard for about 5 minutes. So if you struggle to get up at an early time, and this could apply to anyone really, like even if you guys wake up at 6 or 7 a.m., let's just say you wanted to get up at 5, right? Like, and 5 a.m. felt super early to you and painful. We all know that feeling, or most of us, I think, know that feeling of waking up to an alarm that feels way too early. And you're just like, I know it so well, especially this week because I'm sleep training myself, I wake up and I feel groggy and I feel angry and I think of every reason not to get up at those times and I go through these kind of like this moment, and it's probably only for like a few seconds, of deciding, am I going to get up or am I going to go back to bed and keep sleeping? And this article was saying that if you just force yourself to get up at that time, whatever that is, whatever that goal period is, and you say, I'm just going to push through the pain, it's really only about 5 minutes of pain that you have to deal with. And after I read that article, I started thinking about that in the mornings. I would wake up and be like, okay, I can get through these 5 minutes of discomfort in order to just be awake at the time I want to be awake. And I tell myself that every day, and I know that that's going to play a huge role for January. And I feel like this also applies to yoga. So if you guys haven't heard, I'm doing a 30-day yoga challenge, or it's 30 classes in 30 days. And that actually seemed accomplishable to me until I found out some of the terms of it, where that you had to do like 6 different classes 6 times in that month. Or no, maybe it's 5 times. Um, and yeah, I think that's what it is. But anyways, they have like this little check card that you bring to yoga class to say like what classes you've been to, and you need to do each class a certain amount of time in order to follow the rules of this challenge at the studio. And I was kind of annoyed when I found out about this, because I was like, but I don't like some of those classes. And then I decided to turn that into a true challenge for myself and say, you know what? Sometimes you have to do the things that you don't like if you know those things are going to be helpful for you. And I look at yoga as a very important part of my life. It is currently this particular yoga studio that I go to, because the classes and teachers are incredible. And I see that as obviously great for my physical health. Yoga is wonderful for your mental health if you're going to the right kind of classes and have the right type of teacher. But it's also a hugely important element for business, is doing something that's fueling your body with energy, that's training you literally, physically, and mentally. And there's so much evidence that shows that people that are high performers in their business have daily exercise, right? And so for me, the mental challenge of going to yoga classes that I don't necessarily like, well, is also going to challenge me or train me to do the things in my business that I don't really like to do, and break through that resistance. And also, I may discover that there are classes that I like and didn't think that I liked, right? And I think that's such an important part of life, is doing things that you don't want to do, doing things that you don't think you're going to like, and just seeing how you feel about them, right? And of course, 30 days is a really good amount of time to put into something to decide if it's going to work for you or not, and if you want to continue. So the biggest challenge, the other challenge to say about doing this yoga challenge, is that I'm actually traveling for a few days next week. On New Year's Day, I'm going out of town and going on like a mini retreat. And I'm really excited about that, because I feel like that'll be really useful for me. But that is happening on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So the first 4 days of the year, which means that I'm going to have to make up at least 2 days of yoga, because I'm going to try to go on the 1st and the 4th, depending on my travel schedule. So I'm going to have to double up on yoga some of the days. I also have jury duty for the first time, I think on like January 11th or something like that. I'm really nervous about going to jury duty, because I'm afraid it's going to like throw me off, and it's going to mess with my schedule and all of that stuff. But we'll see. We'll see with jury duty. I like did a ton of research on it today to see what jury duty was like in Los Angeles, and I'm like, the average trial is 5 to 7 days, and it's like, you know, I don't know, what the heck am I gonna do? Like, it would I feel like it could possibly throw me off a lot if I had to serve on a jury, or in a jury for 5 to 7 days. Like, I don't know. So wish me luck on that. I'm sure I'll talk to you guys before that happens. But there's just some things, but I feel like, again, this is January to me just feels like a big challenge month. It feels like this is my time to really push myself and see what I'm made of and accomplish things despite the odds. And I feel like that's such an amazing way to start off a new year, is if you really want to be the best you can be, you have to push yourself. You have to get to know yourself. You have to try things that might feel uncomfortable. And I'm really excited to do that. So, as promised by the title, I also wanted to dig into my a summary of 2017 for you guys. And I encourage you guys to do this for yourself too. I'd also love, for those of you watching live, you can also do this in the recording, but I'm not sure if I'll read it in time. I would love for you guys to tell me how you're preparing for 2018, or how you're reflecting on 2017, or both. And if you're not doing either, I'd just love to know why. If you have any sort of rituals for the new year, if you have any cool New Year's Eve plans, I'd love to hear all about them. And I know there's a number of you that have said hello. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just got a bunch of things to talk about. So what I did a few days ago is I sat down and went through my calendar, my Eco Vegan Gal Facebook page, my Instagram. Did I? Actually, I don't think I did the Instagram yet. My YouTube channel, and I was thinking about going through my emails too, but that sounds a bit overwhelming. But I'm using all of those things to look and see what I have done over the year and what I've accomplished. Like, where were the exciting things that happened? And this is really just skimming the surface. These were like the highlight reel for me, and I thought I'd share it with you guys, and just so you can, reflect on my life as well, but also to reflect, to maybe encourage you guys to do the same thing for yourselves, because I feel like it's very common for people to set New Year's resolutions. It's very common for people to like prepare for a new year and all of that and think about what they want to do. But I don't know if it's talked about quite as much as reflecting back on what happened this year that was great. And in doing so, you can see the things that you want to repeat in the new year. You can also look for things that maybe didn't happen in this past year that you do want to do in the next year, and think about how you can make them happen. So in January, I was doing yoga pretty consistently back then. I was doing social media consulting for a really cool vegan company. I was getting into meditation and volunteering, which was really neat. I volunteered at a church that I was going to, and I started co-working, and I think I might have started co-working a few months before the new year of 2017, but that was really fun for me, and I'm really thinking about starting that up again, because I'm recognizing that part of my challenge running my businesses at home is that I get easily distracted at home, even though there aren't that many distractions here, right? It's very quiet. Evie's pretty mellow most of the time, but I don't know. I guess like I find that it's easier to like just go lounge in bed for a while, or read a book, or watch a video. When I'm co-working, or even going to like a coffee shop, I find I'm much, much less likely to watch videos, because I have to take out my headphones and it can be loud and all that. And I usually don't want to read a book or something. I really just want to sit there and work. And there's something about that environment that really motivates me. So I want to do that again for sure. In February, I don't have too many highlights here. So I'm like, what was going on in February? I think I actually went through a bit of a challenging time personally in February. And I think that I was just feeling a little down and depressed about that. So I imagine that that's why that month was a little on the slow side. But what I did have as highlights is that I started volunteering at the meditation center. So in addition to volunteering at church, I also volunteered there, and it felt really good to do volunteering. And volunteering at the meditation center was neat because I got to go for free. I also did some work with my friend's podcast, and that was cool. But really, I'll have to go back and see if there's anything else that happened that I'm forgetting. March was a lot more packed. So I have a meetup every year at Natural Products Expo West, and that's been growing bigger and bigger. it is something that I wanted to be a lot larger for 2018, and I don't know if that's going to happen, which makes me a little sad. Because last year I was so, or this year I was so determined to make the 2018 meetup like this huge, well organized event. And I don't know, the idea really overwhelmed me, so I didn't take the steps to get there. And maybe the reason I kept procrastinating on it is I don't really want to do it for some reason. So I'm still trying to figure out what's going on. I'm still going to have the meetup. So I'm sure next year will be great, but maybe not what I fully envisioned. Anyways, I reconnected with a old friend of mine, which was really nice. And I think that was one of the best things that happened this year was just a friend that I had been out of touch with and really missed. And I also healed an old relationship with somebody else, so that was really great, just to kind of have closure, right? I went to San Diego and went to this great entrepreneurial meetup slash event, and that was really amazing. My aim was to go to this event every single month in San Diego, but it started to feel really daunting and it didn't happen. I remember I was like sure in March of this year that I was going to go to San Diego every month, and like the April, May, June, like there was always some reason that I decided not to go. And I don't know, I kind of regret that a little bit, but maybe next year it'll change. I also was part of a really cool workshop at YouTube, and that led to a number of really cool opportunities throughout the year. In April, gosh, the other crazy thing about looking back on your year is, and actually writing it out, is that I don't know, like to me, some of these things feel like they were yesterday. So I can't believe it was in April that I went to Utah. I had an amazing trip in Utah. I went there for a wedding. And just Utah is one of my favorite states. I don't know if I would want to live there, but it's probably my favorite state to visit, not including, New York City and my family in Massachusetts. And, I love living in California, but like there's Utah, like gives me chills. Utah is just like incredibly special. So just thinking about that now makes me feel like I need to make going to Utah a priority every year just so I can feel the magic of that land. And specifically for me, it's southern Utah, like going to all the national parks over there, just driving around. It's really not that far. It's like 8 hours from LA. I also went to my first pig vigil, which was really special. You guys might have seen the videos on the main Eco Vegan Gal channel. And I've now been to two, I think only two, but they are very moving. It is a beautiful opportunity to, what's the word? There's a term. I don't know why I'm blanking on it, but it's really just to bear witness, that's the term, to the pigs. And it's a pretty, in a way, a selfless act because it's not easy to see these pigs right before they're slaughtered. And a lot of people don't go for that reason. But giving love to somebody who's, experiencing their last moments of life, I feel like it's selfless to do something like that because that's when a lot of people need, or beings need the most love, right? Especially if they've never experienced it before. So the pig vigil is something I definitely want to do more of in 2018. I launched my live series, which I kind of faded out of on my Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I was pretty consistent with that for a few months, but wasn't getting the results that I wanted. And I just like wasn't enjoying them as much. But it was a cool experiment, and obviously I've been doing the live videos here, so I really love doing these. In May, I went to a really cool women's group. I've actually went to two in 2018. One was more of like a spiritual women's group, which was really sweet. I can't believe that was in May. Like again, that feels like last month or something. And I also another time last year went to a women's group for YouTubers, which was cool. And then also in May, I went to Eat Drink Vegan, which is an amazing festival. It's one of my favorites to go to. And it was just phenomenal this year. I'm definitely going again to that and encourage you guys to come to that. In June, I went to a party at Twitter's I don't know, one of their offices. They probably have a few, but that was in LA, and that was really really fun. It just felt like a really cool party, and it's a highlight for me having been on Twitter for so long. Like it's just cool to be in that environment. I spoke, actually one of my favorite things, one of my biggest accomplishments in 2017 was speaking at VidCon, and even just saying it out loud is really neat, and reminds me how much I want to do that again, and maybe in a bigger way. I definitely want to do more speaking appearances and events in 2018, and it's daunting for me, but I think I just need to get my focus in on that. VidCon is a huge YouTube event, and I got to speak at this like special training that they did there, and it was just amazing. I spoke in front of hundreds of people, and some of them have become part of other things that I do. So I got to make some great connections, and it was just like awesome. It was so special for me that I hung up my VidCon speakers badge on this corner over here. If you guys know much about feng shui, this over here is the money corner. So anything, the entrance is, it's all in relation to the entrance of things, or where you're going into something. So your top left corner of a desk or your home or whatever space you're using is what they call the money corner. And so I like to put things that resemble like goals and success and achievements in my money corner. And so that's where my VidCon speakers badge has been living. I also went to a event at Facebook's headquarters in LA that ended up being an incredibly big deal for me because it led to all sorts of opportunities. Now I am part of their ongoing beta program for Facebook Watch, and it's something that I need to work on, but we'll talk about that in a moment. And I've just been in touch with all these like great people that work for Facebook that are like behind this technology at Facebook. I know about like things that haven't even been released to the public. In fact, I was just part of something that they called an alpha. So generally, when something is a beta, that means that they're testing it, and it'll be open to the public or a small group of people, and that's, it's like generally okay to talk about it. Whereas an alpha is even before a beta test comes out, an alpha is like generally pretty secretive and a super select group of people. And so it's just neat, like when you're connected to organizations and people, you never know what opportunities you're going to get. And so for me, going to that event at Facebook in, when was that? Can't even keep track. Oh, that was in June. Okay, sorry. Yes, so going to that in June has led to so many things throughout the year. I've been to all these events at YouTube. I've been connected to all these events at Facebook. I've been connected to all of these great people that are creating content for Facebook. I've been hearing about things like either right before they launch or way before they launch. And it just feels like a great privilege because I love Facebook. I think Facebook, it definitely has some drawbacks to it. Like, don't get me wrong, whole nother video. But from a creator standpoint, a business standpoint, I think Facebook is really incredible. And it's definitely transformed the world. So it's just awesome. And you know, the event, speaking at VidCon, came from me participating in an event at YouTube. So I just can't say this enough for you guys, is like, you never know where things are going to go, right? That doesn't mean to overextend yourself, because that's something that I tend to do. I certainly have done a ton of things in my career that haven't really led to much, but I'm grateful just looking back on this year that some of the things that I did for one reason ended up becoming beneficial to me in a variety of other reasons. So I just did a lot of experimenting with live video this year, and obviously I fell in love with doing live video here on this channel because I get to hear from you guys, and I still would love to hear how your New Year's are going. Are you reflecting on 2017? Are you prepping for 2018? Do you have any cool New Year's Eve plan? I saw one from Debbie pop up, so I'll read that when I'm done with this. July was a really pivotal month for me too, in some positive and kind of not so great ways. the big focus for me was my friend Jason Robel's big surprise party that I planned for him. It literally took me 2 straight weeks to plan, which is very fast, but I spent all of my time and energy for 2 straight weeks getting this party together. It was an amazing experience. It made Jason so happy, and it was just a beautiful way to give, but I gave so much of myself that I got very, very drained. And it's actually created a ripple effect throughout this entire rest of the year. And that was a huge learning lesson for me because I think I, like, I literally felt like it drained everything out of me. And I've had to spend the past 6 months slowly filling myself back up with energy. And yeah, it was just a great lesson because, it's wonderful to be able to give to other people. It's wonderful to give literally everything you have in one way or another to somebody. But if it comes at the expense of you in a long term, I don't know. I certainly wouldn't, if I had to go back in time, I wouldn't have not done it. But maybe I just would have done it in a completely different way. So, anyways, yeah, it brings me a lot of joy to think about that party. It's just like, actually, what's interesting is I mentioned earlier for February, I feel like I didn't do very much in February because I was feeling depressed about some personal stuff that I went through. And yet, when I look at July, August, September, October, November, and December, a lot happened. So maybe, this is the other thing that the reason why doing a review of your 2017 is so helpful is that a lot of the times the way we feel is not necessarily about reality, right? So I felt very drained after Jason's event. And I know that that seems extreme, but there was something about how I used my energy that just felt so depleting. And yet, I look and I see here, there's all this evidence of me accomplishing so much more. So, also in July, I started my YouTube mastermind. I think Debbie's still here. If she is, Debbie's part of that. Vince, who often watches these videos, is part of that. Jason's part of it. A number of great friends of mine are in this mastermind. And this is also a part of a beta program at YouTube. And so just through my connections at YouTube in Los Angeles, I was part of this new thing that they're trying out to give creators an opportunity to create their own groups at YouTube. And of course, I was like, yes, I want to do this. So I started this group mastermind, and it's been growing, and it's become a huge source of joy for me. At first, I was unsure. I wasn't sure how I was like feeling about it and if it was worth my time and energy. But the last few months have been so incredible that I can't wait to keep going for 2018. I was also part of another event. No wonder I felt so drained. I was part of this other event that is like a way to do meetups, and I may be doing that again in 2018, but I don't know, it's interesting. There's some, one thing for me in 2018, and I really encourage everybody to think about this in their own lives, is why are you saying yes to things? I talk about how you never know how what an opportunity is going to lead to. Well, it's hard because if you're afraid that you're going to miss out on something because you don't do everything, like this idea of FOMO, right? Fear of missing out, it can lead to complete exhaustion and burnout and also distract you from a lot. So for me, I really feel like and this is part of the benefit of meditation, is like getting in touch with my intuition and thinking about why I'm saying yes or no to things. I definitely feel like I need to say no to more things so that I can say yes to the right things, to the things that feel like a hell yes, right? And there are some things that I look over here and I wonder if they will play a role in my 2018. And this one particular thing here, I have a hesitancy. There's part of me that wants to do it, but there's part of me that doesn't. And I don't really know why, but I also don't know if I need to know why it doesn't feel right, if that makes sense. Sometimes we just have intuitions about things, and they might seem on the outside like the right fit, But if they don't feel right, then they probably aren't right. So I'll be reflecting more about that. I started doing more coaching in July, and that's going to be a big part of my 2018. I love coaching so much. I went to Vegas. This also feels like it was yesterday with one of my great friends for her bachelorette party, and that was such an amazing trip. I think I talked about this. I think I actually made a whole video on this, but as a reminder, I learned a lot about myself through going to Vegas. Funny enough, I was very scared to go. So go watch that video. This video came out, I think, in July of this year, and it should have the word Vegas in the title or something like that. But it ended up being a phenomenal trip, and I'm so, so glad that I did that. I relaunched my online course, Creative Wealth, in July again. And I'll be doing that again in 2018 and making it bigger and better. And I'm just thrilled about that. I participated in an event in August called the Real Tastemakers, and that was so much fun. I traveled to the East Coast. I went to one of the best musical concerts that I've ever been to, One Republic. It was, and again, feels like yesterday. I loved that concert so much that I will go again. I'm fingers crossed that they tour this year in 2018 because I just want to relive the way I felt at that concert. It was so, so incredible. It also says I launched Vegan Pal in August, but that feels like really late. Oh, Vegan Pal. That makes sense. I have my membership community, Eco Vegan Pal, which is on its way to doing a big relaunch, or not a relaunch, but like there's a lot of changes happening on January 1st. And I launched Vegan Pal, which is the show on Facebook Watch. And that's got to change in 2018 because my excitement for that really dwindled. Um, After a little while. I was so excited about it in the beginning. I'm really grateful to have been part of it. Again, I'm part of like the beta watch program. There's only like a few hundred people and shows in there. It's not open to the public yet. And shockingly, I didn't realize it was going to take this long. But um, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. It was really, really exciting in the beginning, and then my desire for it really dissolved, and I have some plans for it in 2018, and I'm just curious how long that's going to go. I had an incredible, in September, I did a really great interview on a podcast. I have no idea if that interview even came out yet, but let me see. No, that's not it. Uh, I'm like, I have to look it up. Where is this? I don't even know. Maybe it hasn't even launched yet. Maybe they, yeah, I thought that it might have been out, but I'll keep you guys posted because it's probably my favorite podcast interview that I've done, or one of them. I traveled on the East Coast. I did meetups on the East Coast that were great. I was part of a really cool project through the Food Heals podcast. I started a new coaching program. In October, I went to San Diego for a day or two. That was really fun. I spent a good chunk of the month working on an amazing vegan TV show, which you guys can now watch, called High Cuisine. And that's on Go90, Verizon's Go90 platform. You can watch it for free there. I did the behind the scenes social media for them. I went to Cabo. It was my first time going to Mexico. That was amazing. I went to a great workshop at Facebook. I went to New Orleans for the second time for my friend's wedding. I was the bridesmaid, and it was so great. And I had a meeting with a potential business partner, and that's turned into a great relationship. In November, I spoke at the Circle V Festival, which was awesome. What a great festival. I went to another Facebook workshop. I had a great meeting at a company that I might be working with in 2018. I met some incredible people from the UK who I did a little coaching with. I participated in the No Meat Athlete Sale, which is always a great experience. And I went to the East Coast for Thanksgiving for the first time in years. And then this month, I restarted my yoga membership. I helped out with another big birthday party. Another one of my friends had a huge party. And I did more of the No Meat Athlete Sale. My parents visited LA, which is great. And I did my first like official gift guide for the holidays, which was really cool. So, needless to say, it's been a great year. I'm like, it just brings me so much joy to review this all. I hope that each of you do the same for yourselves. I hope that you can just look back on and have gratitude for everything this year has brought you. I am so deeply grateful to have each of you in my life, and I can't wait to see what 2018 holds. Before I go, I want to just read a few messages that have come up. Debbie said it's her anniversary tomorrow. 28 years that she and her husband are going to their favorite restaurant for an amazing dinner. Debbie, if you're still here, that sounds incredible, and I can't wait to hear all about it. And then, Vi, I'm not sure why you wrote that. That's really interesting. Interesting comment. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts were about writing that because I'm a little confused. But Carrie, thank you for being here, and Nini as usual. And Gassan was here. It's Aaron McNeil. I'm not sure what Beverly Hills. Is that what you were right? I don't know what that means. Michelle sent hugs from Florida, and Green Dragon says happy holidays, and Nod 8D said stay happy. So, and then Kate of Sagan is here, who says she's happy to see me live and happy. Thank you. I'm happy to be here. My phone's about to die, so I had to start to pick up the pace because I want to say a proper goodbye before the battery dies. My cord's somewhere else, otherwise I would just plug it in. But it's 51 minutes, and I feel like I should wrap things up. I want to get back to reading my book. My goal is to go to bed at 11:30 p.m. so I can get 9 hours of sleep. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm going to try. I'm drinking some sleep tea right now. I'm going to go relax, read the book, turn off electronics and Wi-Fi, and just let myself relax and get reinvigorated for what tomorrow is going to bring. So I hope that you all have an amazing New Year's Eve. I can't wait to see you again, and it'll probably be at the end of this coming week because I'm traveling, as I said, and hopefully won't be much on electronics. You guys really inspire me a lot. Sharing my life with you really helps me reflect on things, and as I always say, I hope that it helps you reflect on things and make your own discoveries about your lives and get inspired and all of that. And I can't say enough how much gratitude I have for the community here. It really is such a big joy for me. So thanks again, and I will see you next year. Bye.